Alright guys, so I was just on the Steam Workshop perusing, having a look at what new mods are in development, and I noticed for Attila, there are two new mods released in the last 3 weeks that cover the same exact setting. So one is Dark Ages AD 976, and the other is Rome Era Chapter 19. These are late Roman, early kind of medieval settings where plenty of very interesting conflicts going on, lots of interesting playable factions, but both of these mods approach these settings in very unique ways. One of them has units and models and cultures and traits, etc., all ported over from the Age of Charlemagne DLC campaign. So that's quite cool. Kind of Age of Charlemagne, a bit kind of later than that actually, on the Grand Campaign map. And the other is the Rome Era Chapters mod. So there's a lot of interesting custom built units and, lots of much more interesting kind of scripted events going on here as well. It's really, really cool. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a look at these two mods, see what's up, whether, how far along in their development cycle they are, if they're worth playing right now, and just kind of give you my thoughts and feelings on where they are at, essentially. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, before we dive straight in, if you don't own Total War Attila or its DLCs, you can pick them up with a massive 89% off on Instant Gaming, a reputable game key reseller that I've been using for a little while now. They have a great roster of games on sale like Ghosts of Tsushima, Helldivers 2, or even Manor Lords, all with big discounts. So if you're thinking about buying, make sure to click the link below to get your games for cheap and support the channel at the same time. Now let's get back to the video. 976 AD means there are some really cool playable factions. There haven't been a lot of new medieval mods, late Roman era mods like this in a while either, but these are some really cool factions. Byzantium, obviously, which is a big focus. You've got the Khazar Khaganate to the east. You've got major Catholic kingdoms like Francia, England, the Holy Roman Empire, Spain, the Lombard League in Italy. Like, there's some really cool, interesting, large powers, post-Charlemagne powers there. You've got the Danes, which aren't quite converted to Christianity yet, so lots of interesting stuff you can do with them. The Caliphates and the Celts with Scotland and Wales, the Abbasids, the Fatimids, and the Umayyads, really powerful Islamic factions there. And of course the Slavs with the Russians, Bulgarians, Poland, and Serbia. This is the campaign map, so you can kind of get a sense for all of the amazing kind of interesting conflicts that can happen here. But looking closely at Anatolia and of course, the Greek kind of area, you've got some really cool, interesting circumstances here. The Bulgarian Empire, which is a big focus for Basil II, the Emperor of Byzantium. You've got the Byzantine usurpers in the east there, which have taken a massive chunk of Anatolia as well, which is a starting civil war, essentially. So really cool stuff there. And you've got the Fatimids just south of you, which is a very large empire to keep an eye on. In the rest of the world, of course, you can also focus a little bit on Italy, which has some really cool, interesting circumstances going on as well. The Byzantines actually own Corsica, or is it Sardinia? It's Sardinia, actually. And Naples, you've got the Papal States in central Italy as well, and the Lombard League to the north. And, of course, you've got the Fatimids are extended all the way north into this side of Africa as well, and they own Sicily. So some really interesting conflicts that can come up here on the campaign. And then back to the kind of main view of the map, we can also focus on other areas. Iberia has the big kind of clash between the Umayyads and the other Catholic factions. You've got the Caucasus with Georgia and the Armenia and other kind of big Abbasid, caliphate there, all kind of vying for power. You've got the big Catholic factions, like I mentioned, Francia, Holy Roman Empire, England, and the eastern factions, the Khazars and Russians, the Bulgarian Empire. So some really interesting playable factions to get into in this mod specifically, and it's pretty much the same with the other mod as well. Now, of course, I have been playing these mods as well. I've got a campaign in kind of progress with the Byzantine Empire, just to see how that kind of unfolds on both of these mods. I've got another one with the Holy Roman Empire and the Scots as well, being Scottish myself. And I've had a lot of fun. There are very clear differences between these mods, though, that are worth mentioning. So AD 976 uses unit rosters from Age of Charlemagne, and what that does essentially is what it means is a lot of the factions, in fact, I think all of the factions, when you build an army, there is a very clear uniformity in the army that you're building. It's kind of vanilla-esque in that there's a lot of similarities. The uniforms, the color schemes, all of that is very similar, and it's really quite cool. It gives you a kind of a sense that you're leading a kind of unified faction versus other mods where a lot of the units look very, very, very different, right? Which is quite cool in a certain kind of unique way, I suppose. Versus the Rome Era Chapter mod, which uses actually unit models from the Anno Domini team. So it's very medieval, it's very custom built and unique from unit to unit. The visuals are extremely dynamic and varied, especially when you're building your armies on that using Anno Domini models, which I just love as well. Very historically authentic, using sources that are really well researched as well. So very clear differences there between the two mods, but they both play a very unique role. I'm guessing that the while Rome Era Chapters mod, Red Hornet, he's a modder who's been developing these kinds of mods for a long time now. He doesn't work on them for long periods of time. He makes a setting, he uses models from here, creates the scripted events there, and etc., and then moves on to the next setting. Versus the Dark Ages 976 AD mod has some really cool, interesting bits and differences, like hordes being turned off. You can't convert religion with factions as well, which is quite cool. And I'm getting a sense of anyway that this mod specifically is going to be updated quite regularly. So while, for example, this is a much earlier mod in development versus the Rome Era Chapter mod, the unit rosters, for example, while using Age of Charlemagne unit rosters and mercenary pools and AOR pools, etc., I'm sure we'll get updated quite frequently and quite soon as well. So hopefully that's an area that will continue to improve. AI aggression here is really quite cool, but at kind of times often quite challenging, actually. So there's quite a bit of balancing to be done on the campaign and on the battles as well. Versus the Rome Era Chapters mod, which kind of, for me, there's a lot of balancing here that's already been done. The economy system, the diplomacy, it's a much more complete mod, essentially, from my playthroughs, how I feel things are going with that. Overall, both of them tackle things very similarly, very similar kind of playable factions. The battles are extremely fun. They're not too slow paced, but not too fast either. There's a decent chunk of variety and roles between units that you can get into, and especially between factions as well. Going from the Islamic factions, which all of these I kind of tried out in the custom battles just to get a feel. But yeah, they're very different. Islamic factions have a certain role. The Khazar Khaganate, the Byzantines, the Holy Romans, the Scots, all of these have access to different kind of unique units, which really do set them apart. And it's the same kind of story with the Rome Era Chapter mods as well. There is plenty here, I feel like, that still needs to be developed. The building trees, the tech trees, a lot of the cultural kind of factional trait circumstances, the general especially traits and skills can be kind of developed a little bit further as well. But so far from what I'm seeing, both of them are really quite fun to play. If I would have to pick one, I would probably choose the Rome Era Chapters mods, but if this is a setting that really appeals to you, I would recommend you try out both. And that's it for today, guys. So links to these mods are in the video description below. I highly recommend you check it out. I do find it a bit strange and weird that they should both be coming out at the same time, covering exactly the same setting, which kind of raises a red flag. I'm not sure what to make of it, but they do approach things quite differently. And of the two, I would probably prefer the Rome Era Chapter mod. It feels a bit more historically authentic. The scripted events are really fun and interesting and engaging, challenging as well. I really like the unit rosters from the Anno Domini team. Beautiful looking models there as well, and it just feels a little more complete. But at the same time, I know that the Dark Ages 976 mod is quite cool, a kind of an interesting porting over of Age of Charlemagne circumstances and stuff going on there in a way that, yeah, it's just a new setting, really cool and well done as well. And there's more updates probably coming in the near future as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative, guys. If you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below, and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this, covering new mods that are coming out left, right, and center, and more playthroughs on live streams as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.